All week long, people questioned whether Bryce Young was the answer in Carolina. And while those questions were fair, what did he do? He turned around in Atlanta and had a career day and quite possibly the gutsiest performance we've seen from a Panthers quarterback in a long time. Let's break it all down right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, the part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching our show here on YouTube, where I am live right now and live following every Carolina Panthers regular season game. And thanks for listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The Carolina Panthers 30, the Atlanta Falcons 27. The Panthers win in walk-off fashion once again on the road in overtime down in Atlanta. And what a game. And what a day for Bryce Young, who is the story in this game. All week, I was asked by all of you, for the most part, about Bryce's performance against the Saints, which was not good enough. No one, after even what happened today, can discount that man played an awful game last week. And after it, in the press conference, we saw a different Bryce Young. We've seen in the past, he looked very depressed after losses, but that guy looked pissed off. That was a different kind of attitude that we saw from him in that game. So I wondered, how was he going to respond? Was it going to be another multiple interception game, another turnover-filled game, and another lackluster passing game? Or was it going to be something more akin to what we were hoping to see from Bryce after what we saw him do back in January in Week 18 down in Atlanta? And it was kind of like that, but certainly much more than I or anyone could have reasonably expected in this game, where he goes 31 of 45 for 448 yards, which is basically 3 games worth of passing yardage for him, 3 touchdowns, had a career day on the road in Atlanta in this overtime win. And he does this while playing the majority of the game on a bum right ankle, to gut it out, to go to the locker room, come back in, and go out there and continuously hit on throws down the field, short yardage, intermediate, all the things people have been begging for that are Panther fans. You got that and more from Bryce today, and he does it while clearly not 100%. I'm not sure whether that's the same ankle that he injured on the road in the Jets game that forced him his Buffalo. Doesn't really matter. The fact he was able to still hang in there where there was constant pressure. Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich, the DC there in Atlanta, knew that Bryce could not move. And yet they kept sending pressure. He got sacked 5 times. Certainly times he could have got rid of the football, but he hung in there, got up each and every single one of those times, and found a way to help his team win this game. And this is what's frustrating about Bryce Young. You get what you got last week. You get what you've gotten most of the time in his 2.5 seasons as a starter here in Carolina. And then you get days like today, where he looks like the number 1 overall pick, where he looks like the answer, looks like the franchise. And then next week, we have no idea what he's going to do. We have no idea which Bryce Young's going to show up against San Francisco. You're hoping that this is finally Bryce waking up, that the first 9 starts were just him getting into the season. Now, maybe second half of the season. It is second half of the season, mind you. Maybe finally the second half of last year's Bryce Young is finally here. And you looked at it on the opening drive. He was 7 for 8, 67 yards, had a touchdown, found 6 different receivers. And I'm sitting at home like, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what an NFL passing attack is supposed to look like. But again, it's the opening script. And we saw them last week score in the opening script and do nothing the rest of the game. Today, it was quite the opposite, as again, Bryce goes on to throw for 448 yards, a career high, and 3 touchdowns, was fantastic in this game. And it's so great to finally see everyone be involved. Tetairoa McMillan, 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. Xavier Legette, 4 receptions, 83 yards, had the 36-yard touchdown reception as well. Rico Dowdle, 5 receptions, 55 yards. Tommy Tremble, only 1 reception, but the biggest reception of his career as a Panther, as he goes 54 yards and is able to set the Panthers in field goal range to win this game on Sunday in Atlanta. Julian Council, 4 receptions, 52 yards. Mitchell Evans was involved on the day as well, 2 for 28. JT Sanders, 4 for 22. In total, he had 9 different receivers on the day. And we were wondering, was it Bryce? Was it the play calling? Was it the guys he's throwing to? We saw today, and we have seen in the past, that every single one of them, Dave Canales, Bryce Young, Tetairoa McMillan, Xavier Legette, Julian Council, so on and so forth, are capable of doing this. Now, are they going to throw for 400-plus yards every single week? Obviously not. Is this going to be a norm where they're throwing for over 300 on a weekly basis? I don't know. Probably not either. But they can do this, which makes it so inexcusable that it takes until week 11 to get to this point. But celebrate, obviously, be happy because you saw what your quarterback and what your offense can look like, in that it does not have to be a team where if they can't run, they can't win, is what I said that last week, because you looked at the season, they didn't win those. And now, okay, obviously Bryce made the key plays against Miami to help win that game. He was good against Dallas, as well as Rico Dowdle was outstanding in both of those games. He made the plays on that final drive in Green Bay, but it was Rico. They were winning these games because of Rico Dowdle running the ball and what that banged up mismatch of an offensive line has been able to do this season by not letting the standard drop. They were winning because of that. And then Bryce making the timely plays. But the last week when New Orleans said, we're taking that away, can you beat us? He couldn't do it. Today, Atlanta wanted to do the exact same thing. It's not like Carolina had a lot of success on the ground. 25 attempts, 67 yards, 2.7 yards per carry. So that was not great. Rico Dowdle, 19 attempts, 45 yards, 2.4 yards on the ground. He didn't have a great day on the ground, but he had 55 yards as well when receiving the ball. So he had still a solid day and over 100 yards on the dot total offense in this game on Sunday. So that being Atlanta, said to Carolina, we saw the tape. Can Bryce Young beat us? And Bryce Young emphatically answered that question today. And this is a great thing for Carolina moving forward into the final couple weeks of the season, as they're going to play much tougher opponents in the 49ers, in the Rams, in Tampa twice, in Seattle. And yes, they have a payback game down there in New Orleans. I just give Bryce Young a lot of credit because obviously I've been critical of him. Y'all have been critical of him, and rightfully so, based off of what we saw last week. There is not a single person who can come back right now and say, oh, I told you so. You shouldn't have doubted Bryce. My only message to y'all was, look, you got 7 more games left. They're not going to bench him. We know that Andy Dalton's not the answer. There was one person on Twitter saying, start Mike White. That was asinine and was never going to happen. Like, let's see how it goes the rest of the year, because that would then decide what they're going to do with Bryce. And all this does is further complicate things. But again, 6 more games remaining in this season to see where Carolina can go this year, if they can get to the postseason, and what they're going to do with not just Bryce Young, but with the rest of the roster come the offseason. But this was a day to look at that quarterback and see that, yes, he can still do it. He hasn't been able to do it for whatever reason for the most part this season, but today he showed us what he is capable of and why you guys are going to be hard on him moving forward, because we know he can do it. So please, for the love of God, for everyone's sake involved, find more consistency in the pass game and open things up, and you needed to, knowing that Rico Dowdle for the second straight week was having to be monitored throughout practice with that quad injury, that you could not continue just to lean on him week in and week out. You had to find a passing game, and the conditions obviously were perfect today as they kept hunting that matchup on the other side of AJ Terrell in this game. So great job by Brad Idzik and Dave Canales in game planning, and obviously great job by these guys by executing throughout the game and being able to find those advantages. So Bryce Young, has an awesome day. All the receivers stepped up. I mean, you look at some of the catch and runs that Legette had, that Coker had, that T-Mac had, obviously Tommy Tremble there at the end, Rico Dowdle, and that was a great play call, knowing that they're sitting pressure to dump it off to Rico. All the offensive linemen get downfield. They're there blocking. Rico just steps out. I thought even in real time, it looked like he stepped out. When they showed the replay, it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. They got the right call. Doesn't really matter. Panthers able to score that touchdown, find Jalen Coker for the 2-point conversion. Defensively, didn't get the stop that they wanted to get, but they're able to win this game in overtime on a career day for Bryce Young and a career day for a lot of those guys offensively. So, I mean, tip of the cap to this Panthers team. Asked about this on Friday, not just a passing game, but could they respond again? We saw after the 0-2 start, they responded by winning 30-0 against Atlanta. We saw after the beat down in New England, they responded by coming back from 17 points down to beat Miami and winning 3 straight games. We saw after the loss against Buffalo, they won on the road against Green Bay, who shaky Packers team, we're being honest, but still obviously a huge win for Carolina. Then what happened last week against New Orleans to come back today, you're down 21-7. I'm looking at the defense like, oh boy, we're back to this. And the way that the offense responded, the way the defense responded as well. What a response for Dave Canales and his Panthers organization to go out there and get this 30-27 overtime win. But first and foremost, hell yeah, Bryce Young. A ton of credit to him. Give him all the praise. But need to see way more of that moving forward and do not go right back to throwing for 100 yards against a bad opponent, which you're not facing against San Francisco on Monday night. But what a game for Bryce Young. But also what a game for Jero Vero's defense there in the second half. They were bad in the first half, but they came out there and held down the Falcons in the second half and in overtime. We'll talk about them here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no averages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making a switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. I love that you are getting the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. The setup is super easy. You kept your number, and then you're running in minutes. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Upfront payment of $45 required. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for more details. The Carolina Panthers win in overtime against the Atlanta Falcons to improve on the 2025 season to 6-5, only a half game back now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC South standings as Tampa loses in what was a back-and-forth contest up there in Orchard Park against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. But more importantly, Carolina getting a big comeback win on the road against Atlanta, down 21-7 in the first half, coming back in that second half, having the lead right there in the final minute. Defensively could not get the stop, but they were able to hold them in overtime. Then Tommy Tremble goes into beast mode, setting up a game-winning field goal once again for the rookie out of Florida State, Ryan Fitzgerald. The Panthers now 6-5. Bryce Young has a career day, throwing for 448 yards and 3 touchdowns on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. So kudos to him for bouncing back off of a horrible game he had in New Orleans in a week where a lot of people, again, rightfully so, were asking questions about him as the long-term answer in Carolina. And this game does not prove that he is the answer. It does show what we already knew before. He is capable. Let's see the next 6 games. Can he be more consistent? Because Bryce can do it. But Lord, come on. It can't be what it's been at points of times this season. And now, by the way, this was Bryce Young's 10th career game-winning drive. Go back to 2023 when he entered into the league. He has more than any other quarterback in the NFL. That just tells you the story, man. That's what's so crazy about this guy as a starter in this league, that you can go and look at all the poor pass performances, the bad turnovers, but then look at this game. Look at last time against Atlanta. Look at Green Bay. Look at the moments at the end of these games. To be the holder of the most game-winning drives in the last 2.5 seasons is just insane. But you would rather have someone capable of doing that than not having a quarterback who can do that at all. So Bryce Young has certainly proven that when you need him most, at times, not every time, he can absolutely get you down the field and win these games, even though that was pretty much all Tommy Tremble on that last drive in overtime. But still, huge day for Bryce, huge win for Carolina, getting to 6-5. But hats off also to the Panthers defense, where first half they were bad. And it was a lot of the same things we had seen in the past. The missed tackles, like that first touchdown that Bijan Robinson, and I said on Friday, I called him Bijan on Thursday. Then, okay, maybe it's Bijan because Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons is saying Bijan. That's what I've always been saying up until whatever. My brain just broke on Thursday. Listening to the broadcast, we have one guy saying Bijan. We have Brady. For who's the other guy who's talking? We have Brady Quinn saying Bijan. Like, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name at this point in time. But that first touchdown that he had, really inexcusable, where you had three guys right there to make the play. Mike Jackson, Travis Gibson, and Claude Sherrillis all whiffed on that 5-yard touchdown run for Bijan. We saw missed tackles later on. J.C. Horn had one where he could have stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Instead, Bijan runs out for 20 yards to end the first quarter. The tackling was piss poor. It was a lot of the things that we had seen last season, but they clearly got things together there in the second half. Because in the first half, the Falcons had 16 first downs, 257 yards, 8.6 yards per play. Michael Penix Jr. was 11 of 12 for 163 yards. Bijan Robinson, 15 attempts, 78 yards, multiple touchdowns. He had 5.2 yards per attempt, had a couple receptions. Drake London, he was going off, 5 receptions, 108 yards. So the Falcons, again, 257 yards, 8.6 yards per play there in the first half. In the second half and overtime, 91 yards. 91 yards. This was their drive chart. Punt, 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 field goal, punt. The Panthers, matter of fact, this should not have been an overtime game. If we look at it, and I was looking at when it looked like they were going to lose after Bryce got stepped on by Chandler Zavala, who, Lord, why was he even starting in this game? Didn't get the blitz pickup figured out, which we'll ask Dave about that on Monday, whose assignment that was. You had Cade Mays and Chandler Zavala both blocking the same guy. Now, Rico Dowdle was on the other side, not blocking anyone. So I don't know whether he should be on the other side of Bryce Young, but clearly someone on that right side got it wrong. And Chandler, then he had a bad, I think, holding penalty the next drive, that ended the drive there. He steps on Bryce. Now, Brady Quinn was saying you got to kind of stagger your feet there if you're a quarterback, and this is not the first time this has happened with Bryce Young under center, so they got to figure that out in practice and not let that happen again. But yeah, man, I don't know why he was starting over Austin Corbett. Y'all can say whatever you want about Austin Corbett. We know at this point in time who's the better football player. It's clearly Corb, so I don't get why Chandler Zavala was starting this game. But either way, Bryce Young was able to hang in there in spite of the ankle injury and his right guard just not getting the job done for most part on Sunday. But the defense, again, they held him to 87 yards there in the second half, 91 yards when you count the second half and overtime, the 4 yards that the Falcons had on their lone drive in OT. Carolina, it was 285 to 87 in the second half. And I was looking at it and I felt like this is going to be one of those Ron Rivera kind of games where we talk about missed opportunities. You get that touchdown, or what do you get, the field goal? Let's see. You get the touchdown to start off the second half of that game, and then you have the fumble there on the kickoff. Great play by Bam Martin-Scott, and you get the recovery there by Princely Mamiellan, and then you have a turnover on downs. And I had no problem with the fourth down call there. I know Bryce on a bad ankle, why you got him rolling out there in a situation, not run the ball at that point in time. I mean, Rico Dowdle only had 21 yards rushing at that point. The issue I more so had was with, and maybe was it that point in time or was it later on? I think it was JT Sanders. Yeah, JT Sanders has got to do a better job fighting for that first down. He didn't do it. So you just got to have a better awareness at that point in time. So you settle for a field goal there, or you got downs there, then you get a field goal the next drive. This is a game where you're looking at it, man, they really should not have even gone to OT, or there just been a defense getting that stop there at the end, or just the offense finishing off some of these drives. So credit to them to still be able to find a way to win this game. And that really has to speak to the defense who allowed the offense to be able to get back into the game after they really did not hold up their end of the bargain in the first half. And then offensively, after that first drive, Carolina didn't really get much at all until that final field goal right before the end of the half. But I give a lot of credit to the defense. There's been points in times this season looking at Miami where they were put in bad situation on sudden chains, giving up some touchdowns there, not be able to cover guys like Darren Waller. Then Waller gets shut out in the second half. The Panthers defense makes the right amount of stops. Same thing against Miami. When they needed stops, they got them. They ended that game as well with that sack by Pat Jones II. So I give them a lot of credit. This is still not a great defense, maybe not the kind of defenses that you become accustomed to watching Carolina over the last 30 plus years, but still they have improved very clearly this season. And today was a clear example of that. And I don't know what changed, what was going on first half with them, other than I just don't feel like they were tackling, getting guys on the ground. And that was actually what Dave Canales said to the Fox broadcaster coming out of halftime, that where they're in position to make plays, guys just aren't making plays, which kind of goes back to Dave always saying he likes the scheme. It's just obviously the execution's not there. And we saw, I don't feel like the scheme is a problem. Now, there was some zone coverage there, which they run a ton, where clearly Drake London was wide ass open a lot of times in this game. But once they finally started tackling guys, they had a good day. And I'll give a shout out to Claude Sherrillis, because right there at the was it the end of, I think the end of the second half, that dude was laying some licks on some people, man. And for him to come in and step in this game, he had 10 tackles today. Christian Roseboom also had a solid day, 10 tackles, went out with a hamstring injury. So that'll be something to monitor throughout the week, as Trevin Wallace did not play in this game with a shoulder injury, which is why Claude Sherrillis had to step up and play in this game. But Claude was laying the boom on a few guys. Javon Merrick led them in tackles of 11 today. So a gutsy performance across the board, mainly from your quarterback, but from your defense, to go in the locker room at halftime. I don't know what was said. It's only 12 minutes, and really you're only in there for about 9. Even if that's even amount, it takes a while to get to the locker room. I don't know how far the locker room is from the field there at Mercedes-Benz. Actually, I do. But you're only in there probably talking for like 8-9 minutes tops. So not a ton of adjustments can be made. The only adjustment that needed to be made was, hey, guys, you're in position to make a play. Get the guy down on the ground, which they were able to do in the second half on Sunday. So a ton of credit to those guys defensively for getting those stops in the second half, allowing the offense to come back. And then after giving up that field goal at the end there, and special teams really was a killer there with the return. They got to the 45 of Atlanta, and then all you needed was about 15 yards from there to be in field goal range. But come back there in overtime, get that stop, not allow Kirk Cousins to beat you in OT. Ton of credit to everybody on the defensive side of the ball there in the second half to help win this game. So last week did not feel good. Felt like a missed opportunity as the Panthers lost to the previously 1-8 New Orleans Saints. But we knew that Tampa was going to face Buffalo, and that Carolina was facing off a team that they had dominated back in week 3. And there was a very distinct possibility that at 5:11 p.m. here on Sunday afternoon, the Panthers could be only a half a game out of first place in the NFC South. Well, here we are. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers, and that could be you, $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's very simple. Just bet $5 on hopefully a sure winner, and you get $300 of bonus bets. That's free money basically to bet on over on FanDuel. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game of FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Carolina Panthers get the 30-27 overtime win thanks to Bryce Young's career day and a defense that stood tall there in the second half and overtime, dominating the Falcons offense, which lost Michael Penix Jr. to a knee injury, hopefully for his sake, because that's a guy, absolutely loved him when he was at Indiana. Loved watching him at Washington. Kind of hated that he was got to be in the NFC South and play down in Atlanta. But I've always been a fan of that dude. So hopefully whatever the situation with his knee and also Drake London's knee, it's not serious. A lot of guys get injured today. Don't want it to be ever serious for anybody. But that was key for Carolina because Penix was great in that first half and went a long time without having multiple incompletions. And for him to go out in that game, render that offense ineffective, which had already pretty much happened because the Panthers defense made whatever adjustments needed to be made or just really executed there in the second half, especially in the third quarter. Getting Kirk Cousins in there, clearly that guy is cooked, and he's making a lot of money to sit there and not really play. Now, he's played now twice against the Panthers, which is kind of funny for that to be the case. First time because Penix was so bad and Atlanta was getting their ass kicked. And then today, Penix goes out. So that obviously was a big piece of this game for that to happen. So best of luck to Michael Penix Jr. there as far as whatever the scans are going to show for him today and then tomorrow. But for Carolina, man, it's a week-to-week league. You've heard me say that. You hear these guys say it. You got to reset every single week. You can't ever lose your confidence in this league. It happens. Add 2 more letters in front of that, and you know what I'm saying, because our buddy Ron Rivera once said it back on a Thursday night up in Pittsburgh. They're right here. They're in it. They're 6-5. They're 6-5. They got San Francisco on a Monday night next week in prime time. Would have obviously preferred them to have not lost to New Orleans and be in a situation where they had won 3 straight, be 7-4, and be playing in that prime time slot. But still, Bryce Young's coming off a career day, now playing on Monday Night Football. And I'm guessing he's probably going to need that extra day after the ankle injury. Again, not sure whether that's the same ankle that he injured against New York. And don't know how he's going to necessarily recover from that. So we'll see how the week goes. But if he was able to play through it today and he couldn't play through it against New York, I'm guessing he should be able to play through it next Monday in San Fran or Santa Clara, which is not even close to San Francisco. But either way, great day for Bryce and great for the Panthers to get into this position. So they're 6-5. And I'm guessing even with what happened against Buffalo and New England, and obviously what happened last Sunday, I'm guessing that you would take this had I told you back in August that this team would be 6-5 and a half game out of first place in the NFC South without even having played Tampa heading into almost Thanksgiving here in mid-November. I'm guessing you would have taken that. I sure hope you would, because this has still been a team that is figuring things out. You don't really know what you're going to get week to week. What we do know is they're not a terrible team anymore. That has been proven. I know they lost New Orleans, but this is not a bad football team any longer. That is progress. And that was simply the one thing I was asking of them and expecting out of them this season. They have achieved that. Now they're right back in position. And again, I believe that when you just look at the whole picture in the NFC, the Rams, Seahawks are playing right now as I'm recording this show. I don't know how that's going to play out, but you're going to have a tough time being able to get a wild card spot in the NFC this year with the way that the NFC West playing out with the Rams, the 49ers you get next Monday, and also with the Seahawks. Like, that's going to be tough there. With the NFC North, the Packers, you've already beat them, so that's good to have that tiebreaker. The Bears, they're 7-3. What the hell? How is that possible? But like the Vikings, they're going to be out of it at this point in time. The Lions are obviously up there as well in the NFC East, or at least because it's a terrible division yet again. The only team to worry about is Philadelphia, and they're going to win the division. So they're not even a team that's going to be contending for a wild card spot. It's going to be tough to get there. The easiest path for Carolina at this point in time to get to the playoffs is to win the division. And when you have 2 games remaining against Tampa plus New Orleans, a game that you have to win, and with the toughest remaining strength of schedule, that's probably the path for them at this point in time. So we can realistically talk about that at this point in the season, even if they lose to San Francisco or lose to LA. If you find a way to beat Tampa twice and beat New Orleans, get those 3 wins, 9-8 may be enough to do it. I have to look at the rest of what the Bucs schedule is and all of that, but that may be enough. But you're in it. You're in it. Like, that's something to be excited about. And I was worried sitting there. It's like, damn, man, they're really going to be 5-6. They're really going to have gone from the highs of highs that they've had recently here and then lose back-to-back games against bad divisional opponents, which is what New Orleans and what Atlanta are. But instead, now Bryce is like, okay, guys, sorry. I messed up last week. I was horrible. Haven't really been good at all this season. I have made some plays when you needed them against Dallas and against Miami, and also against Green Bay. But overall, he's been one of the worst quarterbacks when you look at the league, just production-wise. Statistically, has not been good. But he has moments like today, at least at the end of games, where he can make those plays that you need. But in totality, this was the best game that he's had, and this is who you need moving forward. No, I don't expect 400-yard passing games against Tampa, against Seattle, against LA, maybe against New Orleans could be possible, but I don't expect that to happen. But I am expecting probably shouldn't expect this, but I'm hoping that they can get a lot more consistency and balance now moving forward in the passing game, that whatever they were able to capture, because Dave talked about, we're trying to figure it out. It's not just Bryce. It's everybody involved. Everybody's going to be better. And we saw that the quarterback was much better. The receivers much better, making plays after the catch, because that's one of the things I brought up the other day. Their yak percentages were bad, man. That was one of the bottom of the league with those guys. And yes, quarterbacks can be accurate and put them in a position to do something with it after they've caught the ball. But it wasn't like they had really done that much with it anyway so far this season. So to see it all play out and know that at least this year in 2025, this collection of players is capable, let's see what they can do from here. Because again, you're right in it. You're a half game back. You still have a very winnable game against New Orleans, even excusing, if you want, which you can't, what happened last week. You have a winnable game there. And you have Tampa twice. And if you beat Green Bay, who I don't think they're that good, you can still beat San Francisco. Brock Purdy's back, so we'll see how that plays out. I don't think they're going to beat the Rams. I'm not even trying to entertain that one because I think that's the best team in football. But you can beat Seattle, because who knows what our old friend Sam Darnold can do on the road in a game that means a lot, knowing how things played out last year with the Vikings. But yeah, be excited. Your quarterback finally did something that you've been waiting for a long time. The defense, they're able to stand tall in the second half. And this team that has been beaten and battered and bruised plenty of times this year has continually got off the mat. And they've displayed what this culture is, where you keep pounding, man. That's what you do here. And Dave Canales may not put it in those terms. Maybe he did. I didn't watch the press conference today. But the culture he set here, the foundation that they're laying, it's very clearly playing out, because we've seen in the past that once they have performances like the one where they started off 0-2 and the one against New England, the one against Buffalo, things kind of spiral. And I was sitting here thinking that, damn, are the wheels about to go off this season if they lose this game to Atlanta, especially with all those missed opportunities there in a second half that they dominated? And the answer, at least for now, is no. 6-5, half game back in the division. Bryce Young has a career day, battles through an ankle injury, and the Carolina Panthers get an extra day to rest before facing off against San Francisco next Monday night in prime time there in Santa Clara. So that is all for me here on Locked On Panthers. Again, y'all subscribe or follow the show for free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where on Wednesday I'm back answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do is at me or DM me again at Julian Council over there on Twitter and Blue Sky. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding. And I'll be back with y'all on Tuesday as we'll look back at the very good, some of the bad, and not the ugly about a win in overtime against Atlanta. Get reactions from Dave Canales after reviewing the film, and look back at the keys of victory, which Carolina successfully was able to achieve in their 30-27 walk-off win in Atlanta. All that and more coming up here on Tuesday on Locked On Panthers.